What if everything you believe about reality is completely wrong? What if the world you think you're touching, building, surviving in, is nothing more than a thin veil stretched over a far deeper, hidden structure of pure consciousness? Today, I'm going to reveal a secret buried in the quantum field, a truth so powerful, so radically disruptive, that once you hear it, the way you perceive your own existence may never be the same. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because something in you is about to awaken, something ancient, something that has been waiting for this exact moment. You've felt it your whole life, that unsettling sense that the world doesn't operate the way people insist it does. Those moments when your intuition whispers louder than logic, when a single emotion shifts the entire trajectory of your day, when synchronicities line up in ways too precise to dismiss. Maybe you've seen repeating numbers that feel like signals, or had dreams that linger like coded messages, or experienced thoughts that manifest faster than coincidence should allow. And maybe you kept all of it quiet because no one around you seemed to notice the same patterns. But here's the truth. You weren't imagining anything. You were sensing the bleed-through of a hidden reality, the quantum field responding to your vibration, your frequency, your subconscious mind, long before you ever took a physical step. Beneath everything you can touch, beneath every choice you think you make, beneath every flicker of emotion or passing thought, there exists an invisible architecture woven entirely from consciousness, quantum consciousness, the foundation of every possibility you've ever encountered. It responds not to your words, not to your intentions repeated mechanically, but to the silent frequency you carry within. And the reason you're here, hearing this now, is because a deeper part of you has already begun its awakening. That's the first sign of a true spiritual awakening. When your external world begins to feel like it's cracking, shifting, rearranging itself in ways you can't quite explain. Not because you're broken, but because your awareness is expanding beyond the narrow identity you were conditioned to live inside. And here's the strange part, the part most people never realize. The moment your consciousness starts to rise, the field around you begins to rearrange. The more awake you become, the more the hidden layers of reality start revealing themselves. Synchronicities increase, patterns sharpen. People you haven't spoken to in years suddenly appear. You feel simultaneously closer to something vast and further from everything you used to believe was solid. It can feel like you're cracking open, but you're not falling apart. You're stepping through a doorway into the dimension where your thoughts are active forces, where your emotions sculpt timelines, where your subconscious mind becomes the engine that shapes the reality you walk through. Most people never cross that threshold. They live as prisoners of circumstance, convinced life is something that happens to them. But you asked questions. You noticed the glitches. You sensed the hum beneath ordinary life, the whisper behind coincidences, the subtle pull of something greater guiding you. And that's why you're here, because the quantum field responds to awareness, and it led you to this moment for a reason. As you hear these words, you're not learning something new, you're remembering something ancient, something your soul has known long before this lifetime. And that electric feeling rising across your skin right now, that shift in your breathing, that widening sense of recognition, it's your consciousness aligning with a truth it has always carried. This is not just information. This is initiation, a recalibration of your perception, a shift in your vibration. A moment where the quantum field meets you halfway because you finally stopped running from what you are. And what I'm about to reveal, the truth hidden beneath science, spirituality, and every mystical tradition, is the key that connects every synchronicity, every doubt, every awakening you've ever experienced into one undeniable realization. A realization that will change the way you see the universe, and the way the universe responds to you. And what comes next goes even deeper, into a layer of reality most people never dare to explore. Into a layer of reality most people never dare to explore. Because before you can step fully into the power of quantum consciousness, you need to understand the prison most of humanity is still living inside. And it's not a physical prison, it's a perceptual one. For generations, we've been taught that reality is solid, fixed, predictable, that the world is nothing more than matter colliding with matter, atoms obeying rigid laws, a universe running on mechanical certainty. We've been told that consciousness is merely a side effect of the brain, that thoughts are harmless noise, that emotions are chemical storms with no real influence on anything beyond our own skin. This worldview is comforting in its simplicity, but suffocating in its limits. It traps you inside a version of life where you are powerless, where everything that happens just happens, where your only option is to cope with whatever circumstances the world throws at you. But if you're honest, you've felt the cracks in this story for years. There's a quiet emptiness that sits beneath the routine, a subtle ache that whispers that something essential is missing. Even when life looks fine on the surface, there's this underlying sense that you're walking through a script that doesn't quite fit, a sense that your days blur together, that your emotions echo in the same patterns, that you're repeating versions of yourself you no longer resonate with. It's like living inside a room whose walls are too close, too familiar, too silent. And deep down, you know you were meant for more than that. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that everything you've believed about the world was only a fragment of a much larger truth, like discovering that the life you've been living is only the first chapter of a book you never knew you were writing. Imagine realizing that the dissatisfaction you feel isn't a flaw in you, but a sign that your consciousness is outgrowing the reality you were taught to accept. That longing, that disconnection, that quiet internal pressure is not a problem. It's the first ripple of your awakening. The reason this old paradigm feels so suffocating is because it ignores the hidden reality, the quantum field constantly responding to your vibration, your frequency, your subconscious beliefs. When you're taught that you have no influence over your world, you stop paying attention to the subtle ways your perception shapes everything you experience. You stop noticing how energy flows through every interaction, how your emotions create momentum, how your subconscious mind silently chooses patterns long before your conscious mind tries to make sense of them. And as long as you don't see this, you remain trapped in a life that feels repetitive, heavy, disconnected from who you truly are. But the moment you begin to question the narrative, even slightly, the field responds. That's why you're here. That's why something in you resonates with these words. It's not coincidence, it's alignment. Your expansion of consciousness brought you to the exact frequency that could mirror back the truth you've been sensing your entire life. If this is stirring something in you, honor that. Let yourself feel it. And if you're willing, share it in the comments, not as a performance, but as a declaration of awareness. Write, I awaken, I feel the shift, or this is my moment. Your presence adds to the energy of this space, and your voice strengthens the field we're building here. Like the video if this resonates, and subscribe if you want to walk deeper into this journey with me. Because the next part will push even further into the hidden layers of reality. And once you see what lies beneath the world you've been living in, nothing will look the same again. Because once you see what lies beneath the world you've been living in, nothing will look the same again. And this is where the true revelation begins. The moment you realize that the reality you've been navigating is not something outside of you, but something constantly emerging from within you. The quantum field is not a distant scientific concept. It is the invisible ocean of potential that your consciousness interacts with every second. Every thought you think is like a stone dropped into that ocean. Every emotion is a vibration rippling outward. Every belief is a pattern that shapes the way the waves form and return to you as experience. Your subconscious mind is not passive. It is the engine continually collapsing possibilities into the version of reality you know. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast lake just before dawn, perfectly still, untouched, waiting. That lake is the quantum field. The moment you drop even the smallest pebble into it, the surface shifts. It ripples. It reorganizes itself. And those ripples eventually reach the shore again, transformed but connected to the original impact. This is how consciousness creates reality. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but with subtle waves of energy that build upon each other, shaping your life from the inside out. And when you begin to understand this, when you allow yourself to feel the hidden mechanics of creation beneath the surface of your daily life, you start to recognize the truth behind every synchronicity, every emotional shift, every intuitive nudge. Nothing is random. Everything is resonance. Science has known this for decades. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in states of probability until observed. The act of observation collapses the wave. But here's what no one told you. Your perception is an observation. Your attention is an observation. Your subconscious patterns are constant measurements, shaping what becomes solid in your world. This contradicts everything you were taught growing up, and that tension you feel right now, that pull between the world you thought was real and the world you're beginning to perceive, is the birth of a new level of awareness. Your expansion of consciousness is not a metaphor. It is a literal shift in the frequency from which you interact with the field. And once you feel that shift, even for a moment, you can never fully return to the old paradigm. You can pretend. You can distract yourself. You can bury it under routine. But the truth remains. You are not a spectator. You are a creator. Your energy is not incidental. It is the blueprint. And the field responds to every signal you emit, whether you're aware of it or not. If this is challenging your beliefs, good. That friction is the doorway opening. Let yourself question. Let yourself feel the weight of this new truth settling into your perception. And if something inside you is resonating, if these words are stirring memories, sensations, or shifts you've never been able to describe, share it in the comments. Your voice matters here. Your energy strengthens the field we're creating as a community. Like this video if this message is reaching you at the right moment, and subscribe so you stay connected to this frequency. Because what comes next will push even deeper into the structure of the reality you thought you understood. And once we step into that next layer, the illusion of the physical world will never look the same again. Because once we step into that next layer, the illusion of the physical world will never look the same again. And this is where the shift becomes personal. It's one thing to understand the mechanics of the quantum field in theory, to know that consciousness shapes reality, that vibration influences outcomes, that your subconscious mind is constantly interacting with the hidden architecture beneath everything you see. But it's another thing entirely to feel this happening inside you, to watch your own life rearrange itself the moment you begin to align your inner state with the frequency you actually want to live from. Transformation doesn't begin with massive actions. It begins with a single moment of awareness, the decision to observe yourself instead of reacting automatically, the moment you pause before responding, the moment you question a belief instead of swallowing it, the moment you notice that tightening in your chest before it becomes a pattern you repeat for another 10 years. These small internal shifts are the first signs of your awakening, the early stages of your consciousness recalibrating itself to a higher frequency. Let me show you how real this can be. Imagine someone standing on the edge of their life, feeling the weight of repetition pressing against their spirit. Let's call him Aaron. For years, Aaron carried the same emotional cycles, the same disappointments, the same fears dressed in different faces. On the outside, he functioned, but inside, he felt a quiet collapse, a sense that he was drifting through a life that wasn't truly his. Every morning felt like déjà vu, the same worries, the same numbness, the same sense of being disconnected from something he couldn't name. One night, exhausted by the sameness of it all, he finally asked himself the question he had been avoiding. What if the world isn't doing this to me? What if I am vibrating this reality into existence? That question cracked something open. The next day, he did one thing differently. He paid attention. Not to the outside world, but to the inner world he had ignored for years. He noticed how quickly his mind jumped to fear. He noticed the stories he told himself before anyone else even spoke. He noticed how his chest tightened every time he assumed the worst. And instead of letting those habits run the show, he paused. He breathed. He adjusted his vibration before reacting, and the world responded, subtly at first. Then, unmistakably. Conversations softened, opportunities emerged, people he thought had written him off began to approach him differently. Conflicts dissolved before becoming storms. It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was resonance. The quantum field was adjusting to the frequency he chose instead of the frequency he inherited. Aaron didn't change his entire life overnight. He changed his perception, and life followed. This is what transformation looks like. Not magic, not miracles. Alignment, awareness, frequency shifts. You tap into the hidden reality, and the hidden reality responds. As you let these words settle, notice what's happening inside your own perception. Notice the part of you that recognizes this truth, the part of you that has always felt the pulse of something deeper beneath your everyday life. If this is stirring something in you, a memory, a sensation, a shift in your energy, share it in the comments. Write, "I awaken," "I feel the shift," or "I am expanding," so your intention becomes part of this field. Like the video if this message is resonating with you, and subscribe if you want to continue walking this path with clarity and consciousness. Because in the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into the mechanics of how these internal shifts turn into external transformation. And once you understand that process, your entire relationship with reality will begin to change. And once you understand that process, your entire relationship with reality will begin to change. Because now you've seen what most people spend their whole lives ignoring, that the world you experience is not a fixed structure pressing down on you, but a living field responding to you. And the moment you sense this, truly sense it, something deep inside starts rearranging itself. The quiet moments of your life take on new weight. The emotions you once dismissed reveal their intelligence. The thoughts you used to let pass unnoticed suddenly feel like currents of energy shaping the path ahead. This is the first real glimpse of quantum consciousness, not as a concept to memorize, but as a living truth you can feel moving through your perception. You can sense now how the quantum field is not separate from you. It is the space in which your vibration becomes form, where your frequency selects from the infinite, where your subconscious mind, with all its buried stories, expectations, and emotional echoes, acts as the silent architect of your experiences. And maybe for the first time, you're beginning to realize how much power you've been carrying without ever being taught how to use it. The hidden reality beneath the surface of your daily life is no longer theoretical. It's something you can feel in the shifting of your breath, the soft awareness rising behind your thoughts, the way your energy responds to the truth unfolding inside you. There is a moment in every spiritual awakening when the world seems to pause, not because it has changed, but because you have. Your perception widens, your senses sharpen, your awareness deepens. You start noticing the subtle language of the universe speaking in timing, patterns, impulses, alignments. You start realizing that the challenges you lived through were not punishments, but invitations, that your biggest emotional wounds were not failures, but openings, that every cycle you repeated was a signal pointing you back to your own frequency. And it becomes clear, almost overwhelming, that the version of reality you've known was only the surface layer of a dimension far more intelligent, far more responsive, far more interconnected than you were ever told. Now that you've seen the cracks in the illusion, you can't unsee them. Now that you've felt the movement of energy beneath your thoughts, you can't pretend you don't feel it. And yet, as powerful as this revelation is, we've only scratched the surface. Because there is one mistake almost everyone makes when they begin awakening. One misunderstanding that keeps people trapped in the same cycles, even after they've glimpsed the truth. It's the mistake that keeps the mind chained to the illusion of matter. The mistake that prevents the subconscious from shifting into a new timeline. The mistake that quietly sabotages the expansion of conscientia before it can fully unfold. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you exactly what that mistake is. I'm going to reveal the single illusion that holds more people back than any fear, any belief, any limitation. And once you see it clearly, you will understand why your reality has repeated certain patterns for so long, and how to break that loop permanently. Because this next revelation has the power to dissolve the mental walls you didn't even know you were still carrying, and open a level of perception that will change the way you navigate your life, your energy, and the field around you. Before we move forward, I want to hear from you. If this message awakened something in you, if you feel your frequency shifting, if your perception expanding, if your awareness rising, share it in the comments. Choose a phrase that aligns with your inner movement. You can write, "I awaken," or "I see beyond," or "I am expanding." Let your words anchor your energy into this field. Your voice strengthens this community. Your presence amplifies our collective vibration, and your engagement helps this truth reach others who are ready to remember what you're beginning to feel. When you're ready, we'll step together into the next revelation, where the illusion of matter begins to unravel. and the deeper mechanics of the quantum field finally come into view.